the you served, and thank you for your service.
No, it's all right. Thank you.
And then you obviously, I think you said you received a medical discharge, correct?
Yeah, I've been retired since 1989.
Okay. So, and then, but what I want to wrap my head around is, Bruno for that area was a very important guy, right? He was kind of like the capo for the area, right? And
he was essentially, I don't want to compare it to this, but I just kind of put it in perspective. Yeah. He was essentially the John Gotti Sr. of Springfield.
Yeah, he was the boss of Springfield. Yeah, I think for the most part, a lot of people would agree with that, and I appreciate you using that analogy.
Okay.
So
I mean, the way people thought of him, I'm not saying he was.
I get it. So what I'm getting at is you had a personal relationship for him to say, "Hey, come work at one of my places or clean up one of my places." Requires a little bit of trust. So
not one of his places, Tom. I don't mean to cut you off. Not one of his places. All of his places.
Okay, so he wanted you to clean up his operation. I get it.
Everything as far as sports. Now, keep in mind, they took a series of pinches where guys went to jail. He really had nobody, so it is what it is. He
you backfilled. Yeah, listen, you need some people. You backfilled. You worked for him there. But what I'm getting at is you kind of set it up a little bit earlier that like you might have been like a family friend, that kind of stuff. Like at that point you're young, and at that point you served in the military. What was your street credibility at that time for somebody that important to give you that much responsibility? That's what I want to wrap my head around.
Okay, well, I was on the street. I mean, basically in one form or another, I was on the street my whole life with Anthony, with all the guys in the South End. I mean, we used to hang around 30, 40 strong. Okay. You got to keep in mind, when we were in our early teens, 17, 18, me and Anthony and several other people picked up assault and batteries with baseball bats, assault and batteries with dangerous weapons. One of guys that was around us got hit in the head with an axe. I mean, we were out every weekend starting trouble in these mob guys' bars. And I don't know if we have time or not, but I could go into a story about that where they had a sit down with me, Anthony, and two other guys because.
Yeah, why not, real quick, if you could set it up, yeah.
Yeah, let me know.
Go ahead. Why don't we start with that?
Okay, I'm sorry. So one time we had gotten a fight in a bar, and the funny part about it, I wasn't even there, but there was another friend of ours who's a heavy set guy like me, and he was driving my car that night, which it is what it is.
Yeah.
And we got in a fight. They got in a fight in a bar. That one of a guy named Babesh Shabeli, which I don't know if you know him. Yeah. He was Skyball's brother. He was a boss at the time. They had a bar.
Was he a made guy as far as you know?
He was the boss. He was, allegedly, yeah, but he was the boss. So he had a bar called Makara's. It was a rock bar. Him and his son-in-law, and it was a hot joint, packed. So these guys went in, Anthony and a few other people, and they started a war. They abused the bartender. They abused the manager. So I'll never forget, I was in Anthony's Arillotta's house the next morning. We get a call from Skyball's grandson. And he goes, listen, you guys, enough is enough. They had enough. They want to have a sit down with you guys. This is it. Now, I'm talking not a sit down with some jerk off. I'm talking about sit down with all the bosses and the real guys that put in work, that were serious guys.
Oh, wow.
So this is you can check with Anthony on this. So myself, Anthony, and two other guys. Now I wasn't even there. Now I'm not going to say to the grandson, I wasn't there. I'm not going to say that. And so the kid goes, bring Chicky too. He wants to be the big shot driving the car. Of course, I'm not going to say it wasn't me. So we get word they want to have a sit down with us. So me, Anthony, and another kid who I don't want to mention, he's still on the street, is a friend of mine. We take off to Florida. We go on the lam for like 2 weeks, and we have a good time. And they're calling us, come back. You guys embarrassed them guys. You better come back. So we end up, now this is in the 90s. This is before Anthony was Anthony. So we come back to Springfield, and they have a sit down in like a little car sales place with a little office. So we show up in the office. It's me, Anthony, and two other kids, and we show up in the office. And we're sitting there, and they said, listen, we're just going to talk it out. Now, keep in mind, Bruno is in jail at the time. So Bruno can't stick up for us. So Bruno sends word, listen, don't abuse them guys. They're with me. Just yell at them, whatever. Now, them guys are going to do what they want with us. They ain't listening to nobody. because Bruno just was a guy at that time. He wasn't a boss. These guys, some of them were bosses.
Yeah.
So they come in, there's like 7 of them. And when I tell you 6, 7 of them, when I tell you the heavy hitters, they were heavy hitters. Anthony DeLavo, Anthony Torino, Bendo, his uncle, Baba, Felix Tranghese. At the time, they were heavy hitters. Yeah. So we're sitting there. You're going to laugh at the story. We're sitting there, and so they start abusing us. You guys think you're gangsters. You know, they're abusing the shit out of us. We're young kids, you know.
Yeah.
And they start punching, kicking, throwing stuff at us. They're giving us a beating. Not